The Galactic Council chamber floated in orbit above Praxis Prime, a massive station where three dominant species gathered to divide the stars among themselves. The Vralith Empire controlled the eastern spiral arms with their insect-like warriors and endless fleets. The Morpheans, beings of living crystal who communicated through light pulses, held the core worlds with their ancient knowledge. The Krell Dominion, reptilian and cunning, ruled the outer territories with calculated precision. Today, the chamber buzzed with tension. Another world had fallen. Warlord Threknal of the Vralith Empire stood before the council, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of mock humility. His compound eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he announced the conquest of 3 more Krell colonies in the frontier sectors. These worlds are now under Vralith protection, Threknal clicked, his translator converting the sound into standard galactic language. The Krell could not defend them. "We can." Admiral Krellock slammed his clawed hand on the podium. "You invaded sovereign territory. This is an act of war. War." Threknal laughed, a horrible chittering sound. "No, Admiral. This is progress. The strong survive. The weak adapt or die. This is the way of the galaxy." In the observer's gallery, Scholar Velshire of the Morpheans watched with growing concern. He was old, even by Morphean standards, and his crystalline body pulsed with dim, worried colors. He had spent 3 centuries studying ancient galactic history, and he recognized the pattern. Empires rose. Empires expanded. Empires crushed everything in their path until someone stopped them. After the session ended, Velshire returned to his archives deep within the Morphean homeworld. He pulled up files that most considered fiction, stories from the old times before the current age. Stories about a species called humans. The records were fragmented and contradictory. Some said humans were peaceful explorers who vanished mysteriously. Others claimed they were warriors so terrifying that entire fleets surrendered at the sight of their ships. Most historians dismissed the accounts as legends, cautionary tales told to young soldiers about the dangers of unknown space. But Velshire had found something interesting in his research. Every story, no matter how wild, mentioned the same traits. Humans could survive in almost any environment. They could go for days without sleep during battle. They used strange tactics that made no sense until it was too late. And most importantly, they never gave up. Ever. Ghost stories, his colleagues called them. Myths to scare children. Velshire wasn't so sure. Far from the council chambers, beyond the mapped regions of space, a small moon orbited a planet with no name. The moon was called Haven's Edge, and it held a secret that would change the galaxy forever. Commander Taekwon stood in the observation deck of the underground military base, watching data streams from across known space. He was tall for a human, with short black hair and a scar running down his left cheek. His eyes were hard, the eyes of someone who had seen too much combat. "The Vralith are moving faster than we predicted," said Ambassador Una Park, joining him at the window. She was older, with gray streaking her dark hair, and she carried herself with the calm authority of someone used to making difficult decisions. "They always do," Tay replied. "Conquest is their nature. They'll keep pushing until something pushes back. The Council wants to reveal ourselves." Una's voice was neutral, but Tay heard the question beneath it. "And you disagree? I think we should be careful. We've stayed hidden for 3,000 years. The galaxy thinks we're extinct or worse, just stories. Once we show ourselves, we can't take it back." Tay turned to face her. "Every day we wait, more people die. The Morpheans can't stop them. The Krell are too divided. Someone has to act. And that someone is us? We're the only ones who can." In another part of the base, Captain Hannah Lim ran final checks on her fighter. She was young, barely 28, with sharp features and eyes that never seemed to blink during combat. Her fighter was unlike anything the current galaxy had seen, built with human technology that bent the rules of physics in ways that seemed impossible. "You ready for this?" asked her wingman, Lieutenant J. Park. "Been ready for years," Hannah replied, sliding into the cockpit. "Sitting here watching while they burn worlds gets old fast. Command says we're still on observation duty only." Hannah's jaw tightened. "Yeah, I know." She launched her fighter and flew toward the edge of their system where long-range sensors picked up everything happening in the galaxy. Her orders were clear: watch, record, do not engage. But watching was getting harder every day. Her sensors detected a distress signal from a Morphean colony world. She changed course, staying in stealth mode as she approached. What she saw made her blood run cold. Vraleth warships surrounded the planet. Civilian transports tried to escape, but Vraleth fighters shot them down one by one. It wasn't a battle. It was a massacre. Hana's hands gripped the controls so hard they hurt. Her targeting system locked onto enemy ships. One trigger pull. That's all it would take. She could save those people right now. Shadow 6, this is command. Her radio crackled. We see what you're seeing. Hold position. Do not engage. Repeat, do not engage. Command, there are civilians down there, Hana said, her voice tight. We know, but if you engage now, you expose our entire position. We're not ready yet. Those people don't have time for us to be ready. There was a long pause. Then Admiral Una Park's voice came through, sad but firm. I know, Captain, but we have to think about millions, not hundreds. Stand down. That's an order. Hana watched another transport explode. She watched escape pods get picked off by Vraleth weapons. She watched and did nothing, because her orders said to watch and do nothing. When it was over, she flew back to base in silence. She didn't file a report. She didn't talk to anyone. She just sat in her cockpit, staring at her hands. Back in the council chambers, Scholar Velshire presented his research on humans to anyone who would listen. Most laughed. Some were politely interested. Unbelieved. Even if they existed, Counselor Xanthara said. They've been gone for thousands of years. Why would they matter now? Because, Velshire pulsed in urgent colors, every account says the same thing. They didn't die out. They disappeared. There's a difference. You're seeing patterns where none exist, old friend, maybe he was. But Velshire couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching from the dark spaces between stars. Something that remembered. Something that was waiting for the right moment. On Haven's Edge, the Human Council voted. It was close, but the decision was made. Commander Tae Kwan received his orders and assembled his officers. Captain Hana Lim stood at attention, her face carefully neutral. Things are about to change, Tae told them. We're going active. Limited engagement, surgical strikes only. We remind the galaxy that some ghosts are real. Hana felt something cold and fierce wake up inside her. Finally. What are our rules of engagement, sir? She asked. Tae's expression was hard. We fight smart. We fight fast. And we make them afraid of the dark. The galaxy was about to learn that some ghost stories were true, and the ghosts were angry. 3 weeks after the council meeting, strange reports started coming in from Vraleth forward positions. Supply convoys disappeared between star systems. Not destroyed, the Vraleth officers insisted, but gone. No debris, no distress signals. Just empty space where ships should be. War Master Grilvac studied the reports with growing suspicion. He had replaced Warlord Threcknell as the military commander after the council debacle. And unlike his predecessor, he didn't dismiss unusual events as coincidence. Show me the pattern, he ordered his navigation officer. The holographic display lit up, showing 12 missing convoys over 3 weeks. They formed a clear line, moving progressively deeper into Vraleth territory. Someone is testing our defenses, Grilvac clicked thoughtfully. Someone who knows how to stay invisible. Pirates? Suggested his second officer. Pirates take cargo, not entire ships. And pirates leave wreckage. Grilvac's compound eyes studied the map. This is something else, he was right. It was something else. Captain Hana Lim sat in her fighter, watching another Vraleth convoy approach through her sensors. Beside her, 9 other human fighters waited in perfect formation, completely invisible to enemy detection. Target the supply haulers first, Commander Tae Kwan's voice came through her helmet. Weapons second. Let the escort ships run. Understood, Hana replied. Shadow Squadron, form up. Remember, we're ghosts. In and out before they know what hit them. The Vraleth convoy cruised along its route, confident and unaware. 20 cargo ships carrying ammunition, equipment, and supplies for the forward bases. 12 warships as escort, Hana counted down. 3, 2, 1, engage. 10 human fighters dropped their stealth and opened fire. Their weapons, developed over 3,000 years of isolation, tore through Vraleth shields like they weren't there. 5 cargo ships exploded in the first 3 seconds. 10 more in the next 5 seconds. The escort ships scrambled to respond, but the human fighters were already gone, vanishing back into stealth before the Vraleth could get target locks. Total engagement time, 11 seconds. Shadow Squadron RTB. Tae ordered. Mission successful. But the space attacks were only half the operation. On the ground, something worse was happening. Sergeant Day Cho crouched in the darkness of a Vreleth command post on the planet Hellas 6. He was 30 years old, built like he was made of steel cables, and he moved through the enemy base like smoke. 3 other humans moved with him, each one placing small devices on support columns, communication arrays, and power conduits. They didn't speak. Didn't need to. They'd trained together for 5 years. A Vreleth guard walked past, its insect legs clicking on the metal floor. Day waited until it passed, then continued his work. The devices weren't bombs. They were something much worse for the Vreleth psychology. When his team finished, they slipped out the same way they came in, undetected, unseen, like ghosts. 2 hours later, the devices activated. The Vreleth base commander was reviewing reports when the lights flickered. Then strange sounds started echoing through the ventilation system. Whispers in languages the translator couldn't identify. Footsteps in empty corridors, shadows that moved wrong. "What is happening?" the commander demanded. "Unknown, sir. The sensors show nothing, but the guards are reporting presences." "Presences? Explain." "They say they feel watched. Some swear they see figures that vanish when they look directly at them." The commander would have dismissed it as nonsense, except 3 sentries had vanished from their posts. No bodies, no blood, just empty armor stacked neatly where they had stood. The psychological warfare campaign had begun. Dr. Mira, Han watched the results from the intelligence center on Haven's Edge. She was a xenobiologist who had spent years studying Vreleth. Psychology and behavior patterns, they're a hierarchical species that relies on absolute certainty. She explained to Commander Tay. They conquer through overwhelming force and clear dominance. But uncertainty? That terrifies them. An enemy they can't see, can't predict, can't understand, that breaks their entire worldview. "Good," Tay said coldly. "Keep breaking it." Lieutenant Jia Song had a different mission. She was 26, small and unassuming, which made her perfect for infiltration work. She had spent the last 2 weeks working undercover on a Morphean research station, posing as a technician. Today she finally approached Scholar Velshire in his private archive. "Excuse me, Scholar," she said quietly. "I have something you need to see." Velshire turned, his crystalline body pulsing with mild annoyance at the interruption. "I'm very busy, young." Jia held up a data crystal. "Information about humans. Real information. Not stories." Velshire's color shifted to intense interest. "Who are you?" "Someone who knows you're looking for the truth." She placed the crystal on his desk. "Play it when you're alone. What you do with the information after is up to you." Before he could ask more questions, she was gone. That night, Velshire locked his archive and played the crystal. A 3-dimensional image appeared, showing a human woman in military uniform. "Scholar Velshire," Ambassador Una Park said. "My name is Una Park and I represent humanity. We've been watching the galaxy for a long time. We've seen the Vreleth expansion. We've seen the Council's inability to stop them. We've decided it's time to introduce ourselves." The image showed human ships, human bases, human soldiers, proof that they existed, that they were real, that they had been hiding all this time. "We remember the Morpheans as friends," Una continued. "Long ago, before we disappeared, your people helped ours explore the stars. We want you to know. The ghosts remember their old friends, and when we reveal ourselves, we want the Morpheans to be ready to stand with us." The image faded. Velshire sat in silence for a long time, his thoughts cycling through colors of wonder, fear, and excitement. He had been right. The humans were real, and they were coming back. Meanwhile, the attacks continued. Vreleth forward bases reported equipment failures, missing supplies, and soldiers who claimed they were being stalked by invisible enemies. Some guards refused to patrol alone. Some officers reported their troops were becoming paranoid and jumpy. War Master Grulvak assembled his senior commanders. "We are not dealing with technical failures or coincidence. We are under attack by an organized military force with technology superior to our own, a force that operates in complete stealth." "But who?" demanded one commander. "The Krell don't have this capability. The Morpheans are pacifists." "I don't know who," Grulvak admitted, "but I intend to find out. Double all patrols. Install redundant sensor systems. I want every ship and every base on high alert." The orders went out across the Vreleth Empire. But it didn't help. The attacks continued and the fear grew. On Haven's Edge, Captain Hana Lim prepared for another mission. This time her orders were different. "You're authorized for direct engagement," Commander Tay told her. "The Vreleth are sending a patrol squadron to investigate the convoy disappearances. Show them what happens when they find what they're looking for." Hana smiled, cold and sharp. "Finally. How much can we show them?" "Everything. It's time they learned to be afraid." The trap was set. The Vreleth patrol, 12 warships strong, arrived at the coordinates where the last convoy vanished. They spread out in search formation, sensors at maximum. "Shadow Squadron," Hana's voice was calm. "Weapons free. Let's teach them about ghosts." 20 human fighters materialized around the Vreleth patrol. The aliens had 3 seconds to realize they were surrounded before the humans opened fire. It wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration. Human fighters pulled maneuvers that should have killed their pilots with G-forces. They took hits that should have destroyed their ships and kept fighting. And their weapons carved through Vreleth hulls like the armor was paper. When it was over, 6 Vreleth ships were disabled, but intact. Hana broadcast on all frequencies. "You wanted to know what happened to your convoys," she said. "You wanted to find the ghosts in the dark. Well, you found us. Tell your masters the ghosts are real. The ghosts are watching. And the ghosts are very, very angry." She cut the transmission and her squadron vanished back into stealth, leaving 6 crippled Vreleth ships floating in space, their crews alive but terrified. The survivors made it back to Vreleth space. Their reports caused panic, because now the entire Vreleth Empire knew something was out there. Something that hunted them. Something that struck without warning and vanished like smoke. The ghost stories were coming true. Scholar Velshire stood before the Galactic Council, his crystalline body pulsing with urgent colors. He had requested this emergency session, and now every eye in the chamber was on him. "Honored council members," he began, "I have evidence that the recent attacks on Vreleth positions are not random. They are coordinated military actions by a species we thought was extinct." "Let me guess." Warlord Threknall clicked mockingly. "Humans, you're going to tell us ghost stories, old one?" "Not stories, facts." Velshire activated a holographic display showing the data crystal's contents. Images of human ships, bases, and soldiers filled the air. The chamber fell silent. Counselor Zenthara leaned forward. "This could be fabricated." "It could be," Velshire agreed. "Which is why I propose we send a diplomatic vessel to these coordinates." He displayed a set of numbers. "These are from the human transmission. If I'm wrong, we find nothing. If I'm right, we make first contact with humanity." Admiral Krellock spoke up, his voice urgent. "We should investigate immediately. If humans are real and possess this technology, we need them as allies against the Vreleth." "Bold words from someone losing colonies," Threknall sneered. "My colonies that your empire invaded without provocation." The council erupted in argument. Finally, Counselor Zenthara called for order. "We will send a diplomatic vessel to investigate," she announced. "If humans exist, we will make peaceful contact." This session is adjourned. On Haven's Edge, the Human Council convened in their underground chamber. General Hyun Pak stood at the head of the table, his uniform crisp despite his 52 years. His face was weathered like old stone, and his eyes missed nothing. "The Council is sending a diplomatic ship," reported Ambassador Yuna Park. "They'll arrive at the coordinates we provided in 72 hours. "And the Vreleth?" asked General Hyun. "Building something big. Our intelligence confirms it's a planet-killer weapon. Construction is at 60% in a hidden shipyard." The room fell silent at that news. A planet-killer changed everything. Civilian leader Nari Choi spoke, her voice concerned. "If we reveal ourselves now, we become targets. The Vreleth will redirect that weapon toward Haven's Edge." "If we don't reveal ourselves," Commander Taekwon countered, "they'll use it on innocent worlds. How many deaths can we accept while we stay safe?" "None," said General Hyun firmly. "We reveal ourselves, but we do it smart. Yuna, you'll meet the diplomatic vessel with a fleet escort. Show them we're real, but not where we live. Tay, start planning an assault on that planet-killer shipyard." "Sir, that shipyard is in the heart of Vreleth space," Commander Arashin said. She was 39, cold-eyed and brilliant at naval strategy. "They'll have massive defenses. Then we'll need a massive attack," Hyun replied. "This is what we've been preparing for. This is why we stayed hidden for 3,000 years. Not to hide forever, but to be ready when the galaxy needed us." He looked around the table at his commanders. "We are humanity. We survived ice ages, plagues, and our own worst instincts. We turned a death world into a garden. We will not let bullies burn the galaxy while we watch. Prepare Operation Revelation. The vote was unanimous. 72 hours later, the Galactic Council's diplomatic vessel arrived at the coordinates. It was a Morphean ship, its crystalline hull reflecting starlight beautifully. Scholar Velshire stood on the bridge, his anticipation making his body pulse with bright colors. "Sensors show nothing, Scholar," the captain reported. "Wait," Velshire said quietly. "They're here. I can feel it. For 5 long minutes, nothing happened. Then space began to ripple. Ships appeared. 1, then 10, then 50, then 100. 200 human warships materialized from stealth, surrounding the diplomatic vessel in a perfect sphere formation. The Morphean crew froze in awe and terror. "This is Ambassador Una Park of the Human Defense Fleet," a voice broadcast across all channels. "Welcome, friends of the Morphean people. We have much to discuss." The largest human ship, a massive carrier, moved forward. A shuttle launched from its bay and approached the Morphean vessel. Scholar Velshire rushed to the docking port, his excitement barely contained. The airlock opened. Ambassador Una Park stepped through, flanked by 2 human soldiers in armor that looked both ancient and impossibly advanced. She was shorter than Velshire expected, but she carried herself with absolute confidence. "Scholar Velshire, I presume," Una said, extending her hand in the human gesture of greeting. Velshire pulsed happy colors and carefully shook her hand. "You're real. You're actually real. Very real. And we have a lot to talk about." Una's expression grew serious. "But first I need you to broadcast something for us." Minutes later, every communication array in the galaxy received the same transmission. Una Park stood in the center of the human carrier's bridge, 200 warships visible through the window behind her. "People of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice calm and clear. "My name is Una Park and I represent humanity. For 3,000 years you thought we were extinct, or worse, just stories to frighten children. But we were never gone. We were watching. We were learning, and we were waiting. The transmission showed images of human ships, human bases, human soldiers. We watched the cycles of conquest and oppression. We saw empires rise and crush the innocent. We saw the strong dominate the weak again and again. We decided to wait until we could make a difference, until we could be ready to stand against tyranny." Una's expression hardened. "That time is now. The Vreleth Empire is building a planet-killer weapon. We know where. We know when it will be complete, and we will not allow it to be used." She stepped forward, her image filling every screen in the galaxy. "To the Morphean people, we remember our friendship. We stand with you. To the Krell Dominion, we offer alliance. To the Vreleth Empire, we offer a choice. Stop the conquest. Dismantle the weapon. Join the galaxy as equals, not masters. Or face us." Behind her, the 200 warships powered up their weapons in perfect synchronization. "We are not ghosts. We are not legends. We are humanity, and we have returned. The galaxy has new rules now. No genocide. No slavery. No empire too large to challenge. This is our promise and our warning." The transmission ended. The galaxy held its breath. In the Vreleth Command Center, War Master Grulvak watched the broadcast twice. Unlike Threknall, he didn't dismiss it or rage. He studied it with a tactician's eye. "They showed us 200 ships," he said thoughtfully, "but they didn't show us where they came from." "We should attack immediately," insisted Threknall, who stood nearby as an advisor. "Destroy them before they can organize." "Attack with what?" Grulvak's voice was cold. "Every report says their weapons pierce our shields. Their ships survive damage that should kill them. Their pilots fight for days without rest. And that's assuming we can even find them when they don't want to be found. So we surrender?" Threknall was outraged. "No, we finish the planet killer. If they want to threaten us, we'll show them what real power looks like." Grulvak turned to his officers. "Accelerate construction. I want that weapon operational in 2 weeks instead of 4. Pull every resource we need, and send 60% of our fleet to guard the shipyard. That will leave our other territories exposed. The humans are the only threat that matters now. Everything else is secondary." The orders went out. The Vreleth Empire mobilized for war. On the human carrier, Commander Taekwon joined Ambassador Una on the bridge. "They took the bait," he said, reviewing intelligence reports. "Grulvak is concentrating his fleet around the shipyard." "He's smart," Una observed. "He knows we'll come for it. He thinks in terms of traditional warfare. Concentrate forces, overwhelm the enemy." Tay smiled grimly. He doesn't understand that we don't fight fair. We fight to win. The Council wants a meeting, all major powers, to discuss humanity's role. Tell them we'll meet after we deal with the planet killer. Tay's expression was hard. First, we prove what we can do. Then we talk about what comes next. Captain Hana Lim entered the bridge and saluted. Shadow Squadron is ready, sir. Fully armed and ready to go. Good, because in 48 hours we're going into the heart of Vralith space. Tay looked at his officers. We're going to show them why you don't build weapons of mass murder. We're going to show them what happens when humans stop being ghosts and step into the light. And if they have more ships than we expected? Hana asked. Tay's smile was cold and fierce. Then we show them why humans evolved on a death world. We show them what it means to fight a species that refuses to quit, refuses to surrender, and refuses to lose. The human fleet began moving toward Vralith space. The Battle of Krelvar Station was coming, and the galaxy was about to learn that ghost stories could be terrifying when they came true. The Krelvar shipyard hung in space like a massive spider web made of metal and energy. At its center, the planet-killer weapon took shape, its hull already the size of a small moon. Around it, the Vralith Empire had gathered its might. 600 warships in defensive formation, watching every approach vector. War Master Grulvac stood on his command ship studying the tactical displays. They will come, he said with certainty. Humans cannot allow this weapon to be completed. They will attack. When? Asked his tactical officer. Soon, very soon, he was right. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the system's edge, and every Vralith sensor screamed warnings. But the Vralith expected to see 200 ships, maybe 300 at most. What they saw made Grulvac's mandibles click in shock. 120 human warships spread across 3 attack vectors. The humans were outnumbered 5-1. They're insane, breathed the tactical officer. They can't possibly win. Grulvac wasn't so sure. Something about this felt wrong. On the human flagship, Commander Tay Quan watched his fleet move into position. General Hyun Pak stood beside him, having come personally to oversee the operation. They think we're idiots, Commander Arashin observed coldly. They think we'll throw ourselves at their guns. Let them think it, Tay replied. Hana status? Captain Hana Lim's voice came through clear and eager. Shadow Squadron is in position. All fighter wings ready. Ground teams? Tay asked. Major Sora Lee answered from her assault ship. Insertion team standing by. Sergeant Day and his squad are ready to move. Tay took a breath. All units, this is Quan. We are outnumbered 5-1. The enemy expects us to retreat or use clever tactics to even the odds. We're going to do neither. We're going straight through their lines. We're going to show them what humans do when the odds are bad. We make them worse for the other guy. All ships, attack speed, engage. The human fleet charged. The Vralith couldn't believe it. The humans weren't maneuvering, weren't trying to outflank. They were coming straight at the defensive line at maximum speed. Fire! Grulvac ordered. All batteries fire! Space lit up with weapons fire. The Vralith had range advantage, and their first volleys should have torn the human fleet apart. Should have. Human ships took hits that would have destroyed any other vessel. Their shields flickered and failed, and weapons struck hull armor. But the ships didn't explode. They didn't break apart. They absorbed the damage and kept coming, kept firing, kept pushing forward. How are they still flying? Demanded the Vralith tactical officer. The humans had learned something during their 3,000 years of isolation. How to build ships that could survive. Their hulls had multiple redundant systems. Their crews were trained to keep fighting even when half their systems were down. And most importantly, they didn't design their ships to avoid damage. They designed them to take damage and keep killing. Captain Hana Lim's fighter squadron screamed through the Vralith lines. Enemy fire filled the space around her, but she flew through it like she was dancing. Her fighters took hits that should have killed them, but human pilots could handle G-forces and damage that would knock other species unconscious. Shadow Squadron, target their point defense systems, Hana ordered. Clear the way for insertion. Her pilots obeyed, ripping through Vralith defensive positions. Behind them came the assault ships. Major Sora Lee's insertion team hit the shipyard like a hammer. Their ship crashed through the defensive perimeter, and soldiers in powered armor poured out. Sergeant Day Cho led his squad toward the planet killer's superstructure, moving with practiced efficiency. They're boarding the weapon, a Vralith officer reported. Send all available troops to repel them, Grulvac ordered. But the humans weren't where the Vralith expected. Major Sora's teams weren't trying to sabotage the weapon. They were heading for the control systems. On the main battle line, the human fleet crashed into Vralith positions. The fighting was brutal and close range. Human ships that had lost shields rammed Vralith vessels, their reinforced hulls turning them into massive kinetic weapons. Crews that should have been dead kept fighting from damaged ships, their human stubbornness refusing to accept defeat. Commander Ara Shin coordinated the fleet with cold precision. Alpha Wing, concentrate fire on Sector 7. Beta Wing, cover their advance. All ships rotate crews every 6 hours. We can fight longer than they can. That was the secret the Vralith hadn't understood. Human crews could rotate, could rest in shifts while their ships kept fighting. The Vralith, with their hierarchical structure, couldn't adapt as quickly. Their crews fought until exhausted, then made mistakes. The battle raged for 12 hours. Then 24. Then 36. Captain Hana Lim had been flying for 28 hours straight, rotating brief rest periods in her cockpit while her autopilot held formation. Her eyes were red, her hands cramped on the controls, but she kept flying. Her squadron was down to 7 fighters from the original 15, but those 7 were still fighting. Target destroyed, she reported mechanically, watching another Vralith weapons platform explode. Moving to next target. Inside the shipyard, Sergeant Dae Cho fought hand-to-hand with Vralith soldiers in the corridor leading to the control center. His armor was scarred and dented, his weapon nearly empty, but he kept moving forward. Behind him, his squad followed, silent and determined. Almost there, Major Sora's voice came through his helmet. 30 more meters. A Vralith warrior blocked the corridor, massive and heavily armed. Dae didn't slow down. He crashed into it with his full body weight, his armor's servos giving him inhuman strength. They went down together, rolling across the floor. Dae's combat knife found a gap in the Vralith's carapace and the enemy stopped moving. 20 meters, Sora updated. Engineer Siok Bey worked furiously at a jury-rigged console on the human flagship. He was 29, looked like he hadn't slept in days, and his fingers flew across holographic controls. "I've got it," he shouted suddenly. "I've cracked their shield frequency. Transmitting new weapon settings to all ships." Taekwon grabbed the communication. "All vessels, update your weapon systems with the new parameters. Target capital ships. Fire when ready." The human fleet's weapons had been effective before. Now they cut through Vralith shields like they didn't exist. In 30 seconds, 15 Vralith capital ships were crippled. In 2 minutes, 30 more. War Master Grulvak watched his fleet fall apart. He had underestimated them. He had thought numbers would matter. He had forgotten that some species fought differently. "Sir, the humans have reached the Planet Killer Control Center." Grulvak's blood ran cold. "Destroy that section. Collapse the entire structure if you must." But it was too late. Major Sora Lee stood in the control center, her team securing the room. Sergeant Dae Cho took position at the door, watching for counterattacks. She activated her communication link. "Command, this is Sora. We have control of the Planet Killer. Downloading complete system access now. Can you destroy it?" Taekwon asked. "Better," Sora said grimly. "We can reprogram it." "Siok, are you receiving this?" Engineer Siok Bey's excited voice came through.
Yes.
"I can work with this. Give me 10 minutes. The battle had been raging for 42 hours. The human fleet was down to 90 ships, but the Vralith had lost over 300. Human crews rotated through their duties, exhausted but functional. The Vralith were beginning to make mistakes, their crews pushed past their limits. 8 minutes, Siok reported. "I'm in their systems. This is beautiful work, terrible purpose. Almost done." Captain Hana Lim flew through a debris field, her fighter barely responding. She'd been hit 3 times in the last hour. But the ship still flew and her weapons still fired. "Captain, you need to return to the carrier," her wingman urged. "You've been out here too long." "Not until the job's done," Hana replied, her voice hoarse. "Not until it's done!" Siok's triumphant voice filled all channels. "The Planet Killer is ours. Full control." On the Planet Killer, massive energy systems began powering up. The weapon that was supposed to be 60% complete was more like 80%, and Siok had access to all of it. War Master Grulvak saw the energy readings and understood. The humans hadn't come to destroy the weapon. They'd come to take it. "All ships, emergency retreat," he ordered. "Fall back to Commander Taekwon's voice cut across all frequencies, broadcasting to every Vrelith ship in the system. Vrelith Fleet, this is Commander Taekwon of the Human Defense Fleet. Your planet killer now belongs to us. You have two options: surrender immediately, or we demonstrate what this weapon can do by targeting your home colonies. You have 60 seconds to decide. The silence that followed was absolute. Grulvak looked at his tactical display. His fleet was shattered. His superweapon was captured. And the humans had just proven they could fight for days without rest, could survive damage that should kill them, and could turn the enemy's own weapons against them. Beside him, former warlord Threknall hissed, "Fight! We can still—" "No," Grulvak said quietly. "No, we can't." He opened the communication channel. "Human Commander, this is War Master Grulvak. I recognize a superior opponent when I see one. My fleet stands down." Across the battlefield, Vrelith ships powered down their weapons. The battle was over. Commander Taekwon looked at General Hyunpak, who nodded approval. 3 days after the Battle of Krelvar Station, Ambassador Yuna Park stood before the Galactic Council once more. This time she wasn't broadcasting from a ship. She stood in the council chamber itself, the first human to do so in 3,000 years. The chamber was packed. Every major species had sent representatives. Even the defeated Vralith had a delegation, led by War Master Grulvak himself. "The battle showed your military strength," Councillor Zenthara said carefully, "but strength alone does not make you peacekeepers. What gives you the right to enforce these new rules you spoke of?" Yuna looked around the chamber. "You're asking the wrong question. The question isn't what gives us the right. The question is, who will stop the next genocide if we don't? Who will stand against the next tyrant? Who will protect the weak when the strong decide to conquer?" She pulled up a holographic display showing galactic history for the past 3,000 years. 14 major wars, 47 species conquered or extinct, billions of deaths. And every time the council met and debated and passed resolutions that meant nothing, because nobody was willing to enforce them. "You're asking us to accept human dominance," Admiral Krelok said, though his tone was more curious than angry. "No," Yuna replied firmly. "We're asking you to accept human responsibility. There's a difference. We don't want to rule you. We want to make sure nobody rules through force and fear." War Master Grulvak stood, his insect body tense. The chamber fell silent. "I fought humans," he clicked, his translator making his words cold and clear. "I lost to humans, but I learned from humans. They didn't destroy my fleet when they could have. They didn't kill my soldiers when they surrendered. They offered medical aid to our wounded. Even as they defeated us, they showed mercy." He turned to face Yuna. "My people believed in conquest because we thought strength meant domination. Humans proved that strength means having power and choosing not to abuse it. The Vrelith Empire accepts the new galactic charter. We will dismantle our offensive fleets. We will open our borders to council inspection. And we will learn from our defeat," former warlord Threknall hissed from the Vralith delegation. But Grulvak silenced him with a gesture. Scholar Velshir pulsed with happy colors. "The Morphean Collective supports humanity's proposal. We remember our ancient friendship, and we see wisdom in their approach." Admiral Krelok nodded slowly. "The Krell Dominion supports the charter as well. We've seen what happens when empires go unchecked. Better to have peacekeepers than conquerors." One by one, the species of the galaxy voted, some enthusiastically, some reluctantly, but the result was clear. Humanity would become the galaxy's guardians. After the vote, Yuna found Grulvak in a private meeting room. "You surrendered your empire's power," she said. "That took courage." "I surrendered to reality," Grulvak replied. "Your commander Quan had my fleet beaten and my superweapon captured. But he could have killed us all. Instead, he offered terms. He showed that humans fight only when necessary and stop when victory is achieved." The Vrelith paused. "I studied your history while we negotiated. You fought wars among yourselves for thousands of years. You nearly destroyed your own planet. But you learned. You evolved. Perhaps we can do the same." "Perhaps you can," Yuna agreed. "We'll help if you want it." On Haven's Edge, Commander Taekwon stood in the observation deck, watching ships prepare for deployment. The galaxy knew about Haven's Edge now, but they'd agreed to keep its exact location confidential. A compromise that let humanity maintain some security. General Hyunpak joined him. "The Council is sending requests for human assistance. Pirates in the Outer Rim, a territorial dispute in the Corward sectors, Humanitarian aid for 3 colonies hit by plague. And we're going to answer all of them, Tay said. That's a lot of commitments. We made a promise. We keep our promises. Tay turned to face the general. You taught me that, sir. Yun smiled slightly. I suppose I did. You'll command the peacekeeping fleet? If you order it. I'm asking, not ordering. This is your choice, Tay. Tay thought about the years of hiding, watching atrocities and doing nothing. He thought about Captain Hana finally getting to fight for something that mattered. About Sergeant Day and Major Sora bringing justice instead of just death. About giving humanity a purpose after 3,000 years of waiting. I'll do it, he said. Captain Hana Lim was in the pilot's lounge when Tay found her. She was teaching a young Morphean pilot how to handle combat maneuvers using a simulator. You're teaching aliens to fly? Tay asked, amused. Someone has to, Hana replied. Most galactic pilots are terrible. They think flying is about following procedures. But it's about feeling the ship, understanding the physics and knowing when to break the rules. The Morphean pilot, a young crystalline being named Lux, pulsed with excited colors. Human pilots are incredible. They do things that should be impossible. They're not impossible, Hana corrected. They're just uncomfortable. Humans got really good at doing uncomfortable things. It's kind of our specialty, Tay smiled. This was going to work. Humans weren't just bringing military strength to the galaxy. They were bringing knowledge, experience, and a willingness to teach. Dr. Mira Han had set up an exchange program on the human carrier. Scientists from a dozen species worked alongside human researchers, sharing knowledge freely. She showed them human medical techniques developed over 3 millennia. They showed her alien approaches to biology that humans had never considered. The key to humans surviving, she explained to a group of Krell scientists, is redundancy and adaptation. We evolved to heal quickly, to keep functioning even when injured, and to thrive in almost any environment. But you each have your own advantages. Krell regeneration is faster than ours. Morphean crystalline structure resists radiation better. If we share knowledge, everyone benefits. One of the Krell scientists clicked thoughtfully. You're not afraid we'll use this knowledge against you? If you wanted to fight us, you'd do it anyway, Mira replied. But if you're learning from us, you're not fighting us. And maybe, just maybe, you won't want to fight anyone. That's the real goal. Sergeant Day Cho found himself training Vrelith soldiers in ground combat tactics. It was strange teaching the enemy, but that was the new reality. You fight like you have no fear, one Vrelith warrior observed. We have fear, Day replied. We just don't let it stop us. Fear is information. It tells you something is dangerous. But humans learned a long time ago that dangerous doesn't mean impossible, it just means difficult. He showed them human combat techniques developed over centuries of warfare, not to make them better at conquest, but to make them better at defense, to help them protect instead of attack. Lieutenant Jia Song worked with galactic intelligence agencies, teaching them proper reconnaissance and information gathering. Not spying for conquest, but intelligence for security. Engineer Siak Bey dismantled the planet killer in a public ceremony, explaining each step to observers from every major species. Technology isn't evil, he told them, but some technologies are too dangerous to exist. This weapon could destroy entire worlds. No one should have that power. Not us, not you, not anyone. 6 months after the battle, Ambassador Una Park gave a speech from the newly established human embassy on Praxis Prime. We didn't return to the galaxy to conquer it, she said. We returned because we couldn't watch innocents suffer anymore. Humans spent 3,000 years making every mistake possible. We fought stupid wars. We nearly killed ourselves. We built weapons that could destroy our own planet. But we learned. We evolved. Not physically, but socially, ethically, morally. She looked directly at the camera, knowing her words would reach every corner of the galaxy. We're not perfect. We still make mistakes. We still have debates about what's right. But we learned one critical lesson. Strength without compassion is tyranny. Power without responsibility is destruction. And survival without purpose is just existence. The galaxy needed someone to say no more genocide. No more slavery. No more crushing the weak because you can. We're saying it now. And we'll keep saying it, with words when possible, with action when necessary. Commander Taekwon stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at a star map showing human ships deployed across the galaxy. Captain Hana led fighter patrols in the Outer Rim. Major Sora trained peacekeepers on Morphean worlds. Sergeant Day helped rebuild war-torn colonies. Dr. Mira worked on medical stations treating all species equally. Sir, we've got a distress signal from the coreward sectors, his communications officer reported. Raiders are attacking a civilian convoy. Tay didn't hesitate. Set course. Maximum speed. All hands to battle stations. His crew moved with practiced efficiency. They'd done this dozens of times in the past 6 months. They'd rescued convoys, stopped pirates, prevented 3 wars through simple presence, and showed the galaxy that the new rules meant something. Commander, his second officer said quietly, the convoy is Vrelith, the same species we fought at Krelvar. Tai looked at her steadily. We protect everyone. That's what peacekeepers do. That's what makes us different. The ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, racing toward the distress signal. Back on Haven's edge, civilian leader Nari Choi stood with General Hyun Pak, watching reports from across the galaxy.